7 o'clock. The news issues of current affairs at 7:20. There'll also be social media corner as well. Checking to make sure my phone does not ring while we're on air, and we're good to go. And have conversations on anti-terrorism, and then K Smooth gives us music for our dancing feet on a Monday like this. But we're starting with a conversation around child vaccination and the monitoring of the growth of your children. My guest is a pediatrician, child doctor. Her name is Hilda Mantibia Boy. Dr. Boy is president-elect of the Pediatric Society of Ghana and a friend to all babies. Good morning.
You got that right. Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
All right. Why do we have to, for want of a better word, I don't know whether they inject babies or they give them the vaccinations through pills. But why do we have to put stuff into babies in the name of vaccination?
You remember some years ago, we used to talk a lot about the 6 childhood killer diseases. And recently, the vaccines were in short supply. The reason why we don't really talk about the 6 childhood killer diseases anymore is because of vaccinations, because the vaccinations offer protection for these babies, for these children, and prevent them from getting some of these illnesses which otherwise would have killed them. Again, it's not only children who benefit from these vaccinations. If you're a grandma at home and you are taking care of your grandchild and your grandchild gets some of these illnesses, they could be transferred to you, or you could get infected with them and also probably get an infection and die from them. Everybody benefits from these vaccines that we give to the children, and that's why it's so important that we talk about them. Again, because they were in short supply, some people missed some vaccinations, and we want those people to go back to the various health facilities and get the vaccines that they missed once they are in now.
Okay. So are we still vaccinating against the 6 childhood killer diseases?
Yes, we are vaccinating against them and others.
What are the 6 killer diseases?
So for those that we vaccinate against, we talk about tuberculosis, we talk about polio. You know, polio can cause paralysis. We talk about that. Measles, pneumonia for pneumococcal vaccine, hepatitis B. Rotavirus infection is also another thing we vaccinate against, and then the meningitis. There are others, Haemophilus influenza B and co.
Humorous names, right?
Yes, it's the names of the germs that cause these illnesses that we have used to name the vaccines.
At what age do you start vaccinating children?
Typically, vaccination per our schedule in Ghana will begin from birth and end around 18 months of age. So right from when baby is born, baby starts getting their doses of vaccines or their shots of vaccines until about 18 months when they get the last shots, the MNA and so. Again, around the ages of 8 and 9, there are other vaccines that the children can have for HPV. It's not on our schedule yet, but it's advised that people get them to prevent cervical cancer.
Is there a vaccine, an anti-COVID vaccine?
Yes, there are COVID vaccines, but we are not routinely giving them to young children in Ghana.
Okay. Is the sharp needle the only way you can introduce these vaccines into the children? It must be very traumatizing for a baby. You're sitting there in your own happy heaven, and all of a sudden, you're crying, you know?
There are some that are giving us drops in the mouth. There are some that are giving with the small injections under the skin, and there are some that are giving in the muscle. So we have the various forms.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about its side effects. I mean, some mothers and parents are quite worried about. They go and read stuff on the internet and they come and say, listen, I'm anti-vax, I'm not interested, I don't want these side effects for my children, I've done my research, you know. Parents are becoming more and more informed before they come to the consulting room. What do you say to parents like that?
Every drug or medication has side effects because it's a drug. And even if you talk about poisons, drugs can be poisonous. It's all a matter of dose, if I would say. And all these medications that have been tried in humans, the side effects, even if those that are there are very mild and tolerable, so you don't expect them to cause the person who is receiving the vaccine to have death. Otherwise,
did they try the
these will
vaccines
not
on other babies?
Yes, they've been, so these have been tested and they've been used over the years. So they are generally safe and would encourage all mothers to give or allow their children to have these vaccines. Again, if you talk about not having the vaccine, if you don't have the vaccine, you could have any of these illnesses that could potentially kill your child, infect your loved ones, and even kill you. So why wouldn't you want to vaccinate your children? I know in some of the advanced countries now we have a lot of people coming up, I don't want any vaccines, I don't want because of this or because of that. And for some of these places, they are getting some of these rare illnesses or infections that ordinarily people wouldn't have. Now with the measles, mumps, rubella vaccines, there are some who said, oh, if I give my child this vaccine, my child is going to get autism. All the studies that have been done have shown that they are safe and do not cause autism. If you give your child a vaccine, the child may develop a fever, which often is a usual or unexpected immune response, meaning that the body has identified that there is something that has been introduced into the body and is trying to mount a response. And so for some of the vaccines, when we give them, we will tell you that when you spot a fever or your child starts having a fever, you should report to hospital. There are a few times that you may notice something on you, maybe they'll become cranky or irritable, if I may, like they want to cry, they feel uncomfortable. It could be because of the pain. It could be because of the immune response that I mentioned earlier. So for those ones, they are usually very mild and tolerable, and parents should not worry. If your child develops, let's say, a convulsion after, or something unusual, or a child suddenly becomes ill, you should report to hospital and we will take care of child or look at whatever it is. If your child is ill, actively ill, we won't advise that you go and give the child vaccines at that point, because then the confusion may be whether it was from the vaccine or from the illness that the child had already. But generally, vaccines are safe, and we will strongly recommend that parents go back and get the vaccines for their children.
How do you respond to those who, for religious reasons, do not want to have their children vaccinated? Do you come across some of those?
Not much. I think in Ghana generally we have a very good uptake of the vaccines. Once they are available, a lot of our mothers will go and get the vaccines for their children or go and get their children vaccinated. So thumbs up to Ghana, the EPI, Ghana Health Service, Ministry of Health, and all our health workers who are doing amazing and trying to reach every corner. You see some of these nurses crossing rivers, working in very bad circumstances, environments or places, just to go and get children vaccinated. And this is like very commendable. We have had a few concerns rather with mothers who have had preterms. So some of them will say, oh, when they said the baby is too small.
What is preterm?
A preterm is a baby who was born before 9 months of pregnancy. So some will say premature.
Okay.
Yes. So
we know that one.
Yeah. Apologies. The doctor in me has to come out sometimes.
We know that one. Premature.
Yes.
Preemies.
Yes. So the preemies, premature babies, those ones also need to be vaccinated on schedule as much as possible. Once they are well enough to go home, we encourage that they get their vaccinations. Okay. So if you're a healthcare professional working in a facility, a health center, don't turn these mothers away. Otherwise, it will cause them to miss some doses. And if you are not careful, they may not get the catch up. And they are also very susceptible to infections.
Okay, let's talk about the doses. So how important is it for you to stick to the vaccination routine? Because I'm sure you have a card which says, yes, okay, you've done this now, so the next time is this time.
Yes.
If you come too early or you go too late or you don't go at all, what are the consequences?
All right. So I have the schedule right here. So I don't know if the camera can pick it. Okay. All right. So this is the
maternal and child health record book.
Yes. And this is currently being given to pregnant women at the antenatal clinics. So it's for both the mother and the baby. It was recently combined. So now you have the mother's record in the book as well as the baby's record in the book. Now at birth, baby gets what we call the BCG and then the oral polio vaccine. Then when you get to the 6 weeks, they get the poliovirus vaccine again. They get DPT, that's a diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus, and then they get the hepatitis B and the Haemophilus influenza B again. Then they get the pneumococcal rotavirus. So if you have the book, you can just turn to page 51 and you'll see the rest of the schedule as it is over here. So this continues till about 18 months when they get the last dose of measles, rubella 2, and they get meningitis A. Now, these are done on schedule and it's scientifically done. So this is the time when we expect that the baby needs the vaccine one. The baby's body will be able to mount the needed response to protect them in the future. And the whole idea of vaccine is, okay, so this is the germ that is causing this baby to have this infection. We give the baby either a dead form or a weakened life form, which is not like strong enough or potent enough to cause the baby to have an infection, but it's good enough to cause the baby's immune system. If I say immune system, the part of the body that helps to fight infections.
Like soldiers for the body.
Like soldiers for the body. So these soldiers become alert, they recognize these germs, and they mount some sort of protection. So what it means is that next time, if the germ comes in real life,
they're ready.
They are already ready. They are already, alert. They have their guns blazing and they are ready to fight. And that is how the vaccines or vaccinations work. And so best practice is to go according to the schedule so that it is the right time for the body to mount the right kind of response that you need to protect you from future infections.
Okay, you're watching GTV Breakfast. This is the BFS Clinic, Monday, the 22nd of May, 2023. My guest is Dr. Hilda Mansibia Boy, and she's a pediatrician. She has love for babies and looks after them. Makes sure that they're all well and happy. We've been looking at child vaccination, and now let's look a little bit at growth and monitoring of the weight of your baby. What's the smallest baby you've ever dealt with?
Wow.
In terms of size and weight, how small was that baby?
We've seen 600 grams.
600 grams?
Yes, 700 grams.
Lighter than this?
Yes, yes,
and
lighter than that.
And how small?
Really small.
You can hold the baby in your palm?
Yes.
You can hold the baby in your palm?
Yes, so a little smaller than maybe up to about here.
What?
Yes.
With everything formed?
With everything, well, not so well formed,
yes,
because these tend to be preterms.
And how young is a baby like that?
Premature babies. So some of them 26 weeks, 27 weeks, 28 weeks.
Well, the correct one is about 40 weeks. I mean, the normal time is about 40 weeks, right?
Yes. So the 9 months of pregnancy that we talk about is about, let's say, 37 to 40 weeks of pregnancy. Could extend to 42 weeks, could go a little beyond 42 weeks. Yes.
I mean, at that level, I am sure.
We've seen 800-gram babies survive. There are people who were very preterm, but they've survived.
Wow, they spend a lot of time inside the
incubators. Yes.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about the weight of babies. I mean, what's the ideal weight? Is there any such thing as an ideal weight of a baby coming out into the world screaming, "Gang, gang, gang"? How heavy must he or she be?
He looks scary. So the ideal weight, 2.5 to 3.5 kilos. Kilos, yes. We could have some being a little smaller than the 2.5 kilos or 2,500 grams, and you may have some being bigger than the 3,500 grams. But for us as like medics also, when the babies are born, we have a chart that we will plot their weight on and say, okay, so this baby is within the right weight for the right sort of gestational age, or the time that the baby stayed in the womb for, the weight is adequate for it or not. So we are able to tell using some of these growth charts that we have in the book. Yes.
What page should I turn to?
Let me. I didn't even
51 was for the vaccination.
Yes, 51 was for the vaccination.
Turn to chapters. Growth monitoring chapter 4.
So you have that 48. So from page 45 on going, you see that. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see.
Yes. So we have for boys, and boys are treated like boys are boys, girls are girls. So when it comes to our charts, we'll always have that for boys separate from that for girls, and we'll plot a boy's weight on the boys chart and the girls for the girls chart. So we have that for weight, for head circumference, and for length. So we'll measure the head of the baby at birth.
Why?
Because we expect
is a big head
babies.
a good sign?
If it's within the range, then it's okay. But if it's above the range, then it's not good.
If a head is too small also?
If a head is too small, it's also a problem because your head represents your brain more or less. How much brain do you have in your head? And you need the right amount of brain to do well. So we measure all that. Sometimes too, there are things like water or fluid in the brain or around the brain. And those are all things that we look out for at birth.
What's the impact of weight on health for babies?
So there's a whole big phenomenon around what we call low birth weight babies, or babies who are born too small. And if you're born less than 2.5 kilos or 2,500 grams, less than that, you are at higher risk for having morbidity, or what we call illnesses. So you are at a higher risk of illnesses. And then if you are born above the 4 kilos there, or even above 3, depending on what your gestational age was. You also, yes, we have babies 4.5, 4.4, even 5 kilos. We've seen some babies that size. So weight is really important, and it could tell the health of your mother when she was pregnant, as well as it has the potential to it sort of helps us to know that no, you are at high risk because you may have illnesses or infections. If a preterm or somebody who is born premature is small, it's expected. But there are some babies who are also born at 9 months who are too small, and that's also a problem. So it helps us to know that there was probably a problem during pregnancy. You're at higher risk of getting some infections or illnesses, and even in later life, some of these are the people who will can easily become obese, can easily become hypertensive, can easily have diabetes. So it tells a big story around who you are and where you may be in the next 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, 70 years.
Okay. What's the best way to weigh babies? I mean, from the youngest to maybe 2. I mean, how do mothers do that? How do you weigh a baby?
All right. So I'm currently actually doing some work on growth monitoring at the maternity block, and what I realize is that traditionally mothers have a way of checking whether their babies are growing or not, and they do that by putting the beads on the hands or the wrist, around the waist, and around the calf. So traditionally, this helps them to tell over time whether baby is gaining weight or not. Once it gets tightened or tight, then they know that, oh, baby is growing, and therefore they'll just change it. But in hospital, what we will do is use a standard scale or a good scale to measure what the weight is. So at birth, the scale will be used to check the baby's weight. Now, after birth, we will have scheduled visits. So we'll say, come maybe 1 month, come 2 months, let's check the weights. So we'll check like monthly and see and plot them on the chart
Okay.
to see how baby's growth is. And you see, there are some lines there. These lines help us to tell whether baby's growth is adequate or good or not. Now on the chart, you will see that there are some 2 red lines. Okay, this is WHO health chart. So it's a growth chart by the World Health Organization. Many children's weights were used to help to standardize it, and so this is very standard. Now we expect that the weight will be between +2 and -2. So the 2 red line up there, and then the lower red line, we expect that the weight will be in there. So if it falls in there, that's good weight to start with. But we also will look at what the baby's weight was at birth to determine what the trend is. We don't want the baby to stagnate. We want the baby to be rising along the same line, or can maybe cross. Once it's between the 2 red lines, we are happy, but it shouldn't be coming down, and it shouldn't be at one point. So it should be going up. You should be rising along your curve, or you can jump up, and that tells us if we have a baby whose weight is stagnating, we know that there's a problem. And there are some whose weight, you start noticing that they are not gaining weight right from around maybe even 6 weeks when they come for the vaccination, you may notice that they are not gaining weight as they should. And then for some of them, especially around weaning, that's around the 6 months when they start introducing other foods, you may notice that baby there is like the weight is stagnating, or baby is not growing well. And sometimes when baby is not growing well, it may be because baby has become unwell, or baby is just not feeding well. And so once we notice this, the public health nurses at the weighing centers or the child welfare clinics will tell the mothers, no, we've seen a problem, you should do this, this and that. And if there are problems with feeding, breastfeeding, or there are problems with the transitioning to adult feeds or the weaning period, then we will offer the appropriate counseling for the mothers so that the right interventions is given. Because for babies, they need to grow well. For their brain to grow well, they need good nutrition to grow well. And if they don't have this around the first 1,000 days of life, it's a missed opportunity, because then their intelligence may be affected. If probably they could study hard, or their IQ could be very high, they could become, let's say, I'm using examples, let's say a pilot or somebody, and then they are not able to get there because you've deprived these children of the breast milk, first of all, that they needed, and you've also deprived them of the nutrients that they needed for their brain to grow and develop. So nutrition, very, very important. And even if Ghana, we want to develop, we need to pay attention to the nutrition of our pregnant women, the nutrition of our babies, the nutrition of our young children, especially those under 5 years.
Okay, so breast is best for baby.
Breast is definitely best for baby.
I read some story of some 7-year-old guy who was still drinking breast milk, and that was just weird for me. I don't know. What is that ideal age for you to stop breast milking and start eating real food?
All right, so that's called extended breastfeeding. It's crazy in some of the advanced countries. You see an 8-year-old still tagging onto the breast. Don't mind them.
We are not minding them. So what's the correct age really? I mean, the standard age here.
We advise and strongly recommend that breastfeeding is initiated within the first hour of life. So before baby is 1 hour of life, breastfeeding should be initiated. Now, breastfeeding should continue. Breast milk alone should continue until baby is 6 months. From 6 months on, we can then go on to add other feeds, which we call complementary feeds. So the potompoto, the cocoa, fufu, bangkun.
Fufu at 6, no teeth?
Yes.
What are they eating?
No teeth. It's soft. You make it very, very soft. So soft enough for them to be able to. Tuozafi with a green leafy soup and meat and fish, like very, very soft.
Okay, mash it for them.
Mash it, or very, very soft, so that they can take it. So blended or in a form that they can easily take. So all these are added from about 6 months of age while you are breastfeeding still. So the breast milk is given still within the period of weaning till around 2 years or more. So minimum, you continue breastfeeding till 2 years or more. If you're able to do more, you continue. Okay. Yes.
How about mummies who just don't have enough breast milk at the time of birth of the baby? What are the solutions for them?
A lot of support is required during the period of breastfeeding, especially for new moms. Again, another thing I realized was once mothers have the support that they need, many of them will be able to produce more than enough. And at the beginning, they are usually under pressure to see a lot of breast milk. But when baby is just born, you don't need a bottle full of milk. You don't need 100 mils, 200. You just need a few drops that the baby.
They want the whole fountain to come out of the breast.
They want the whole, they want to see, they want to, but that's not what you need. And so once you support them, sometimes you express the milk and you see that, the milk is actually coming. There's a way to do it. Once you press the areola, you sort of try and express.
Areola is the dark stuff around the raised.
Yes, yes. Yes, okay. You know your anatomy.
I do. Very much so. And so are you saying that if the woman is under stress, the breast milk will not come?
Definitely, because stress will inhibit it. Now, mothers are told, eat as much as you can, take soups, take that. If you take all those and you are very stressed, the breast milk will not flow. All that you have taken will just turn to urine, and then you will just be urinating it. So you need to relax. relaxation cannot be overemphasized during the nursing period or the breastfeeding period. So as much support that mothers can get during this period so that they are relaxed, because once you relax, the hormones will work in the right quantities and the breast milk flow will be very good. Again, fathers can support mothers at certain points. Mother can express and father can give to baby during the night feed so that mother can rest a bit during the night. We also say that rest or sleep when baby sleeps. You try as much as possible to get enough rest so that your body is relaxed to produce all the breast milk that baby needs. In case there are issues with the breastfeeding or lactation or any concerns at all, speak with your healthcare provider, because that is why we are there, and we will provide you with all the support that you need.
Is it true that this millet drink called Zimkum, it actually produces more breast milk?
Zinkum.
Zimkum.
I'm not aware of it, but you see, a common thing that people will say that you should take during breastfeeding is the granite and the corn, the interior,
the corn, that connection,
roasted granite and corn.
Yeah.
But then there again, it's not really about the roasted granite and corn. Well, I guess once you are taking the roasted granite, you'll be drinking a lot of water and all. But also the relaxation, as you're chewing away, you are relaxed and being calm.
Chew and relax.
Being calm can help you to relax, and then you can produce all the breast milk. But we are also noticing that a lot of mothers are giving up or quickly, switching to other things rather than focusing on the breast milk. Breast milk has all baby needs, and it will help even with the intelligence. Every day we are discovering new things about the benefits of breast milk, and it's free.
And I hear it's a contraceptive too. It can stop pregnancy.
Yes, it can help to prevent pregnancy.
Nice.
Especially around the beginning. We call it lactational amenorrhea.
God is great.
Yes.
All the time. I've enjoyed this conversation. We've talked about chucking needles into babies' arms in the name of vaccination. Really good, even though it's painful for them. It's useful. And we've also talked about growth monitoring and weight. And then we've also talked about breastfeeding. Breast is best, okay? Give the babies the breast. For me, I know, and all my brothers, we never liked to eat any other thing apart from the. When they gave us the other food, we just look at my mother and then spit at her, and we went back for the breast. We were like 2 years old. So I think it helped us a lot. Anything you want us to say? You want to say before I let you go? 30 seconds. What should people take away from this conversation?
The child welfare clinics are an important intervention for all children in Ghana. If you're a mother who has just delivered, take advantage of these visits. Attend all the visits that you are supposed to, because it gives us the opportunity to see your baby, assess your baby, and help you to take good care of your baby.
All righty. She's taking good care of the conversation. Her name is Dr. Hilda Mantibia Boy. She's President-elect, Madam President-elect, congratulations, of the Pediatric Society of Ghana. And you're up to date with vaccination, growth monitoring, and breastfeeding. If you missed the conversation, go to our Facebook page, follow us, GTV Ghana, hit the notification bell. Anytime our videos come up, you will get an alert on that. Sports is coming up next with Maltiti Saida Sadiq. There are stories around football, and more football. If you're an Arsenal fan, look